All right, so we are officially recording. Welcome to our week 4 GoTo training session. I want to thank those of you that are here joining me. I know that your team captain gave you a shout out, but a bunch of you are from the same team, so I'm glad that you kind of encouraged each other to make this happen and to be present with us here today. And welcome to everybody, regardless of what team you're on. We are going to utilize this time today. We've actually covered all of our course content, so we are a little bit ahead of schedule, honestly, believe it or not. So a lot of our session today is going to be reviewing some important things for the week 4 deadlines, as well as some things for week 4 that I want to make sure you guys attend to, and discussing what that last day of class tomorrow afternoon is going to look like. All right, so with that being said, you can either just follow along on the screen here since I have our course pulled up, or you can join with me and do it on your laptop as well. Totally your call and up to you. Okay, so let me just move this over here so you guys don't see that panel. All right, so if we start on our course page and we scroll all the way down, everybody remember the professionalism activity that we completed way early on, right? Okay, so when we're in that activity, it looks something like this. I know that many of you maybe have not peeked into it for a while now. All right, today and tomorrow we are going to be updating your professionalism and GPS scores depending on your physical attendance to class, as well as your integrated learning hours that include your discussions, your team research activities, the GoTo trainings, and for this week, your portfolio competency activity. All right, so tomorrow before you come into class, what I want you guys to do in the afternoon or right after CRP maybe, for those of you that have creative presentations, I'd like for you to please go into this particular activity, review whatever the grade is. There'll be a grade down here. You can't see it on my end because this is the instructor view. But check what the grade is and check where you stand in terms of attendance. Okay, remember that you can only miss up to 4 hours, and so that grade will reflect the time that you've been in class as well as your completion of those activities. For the integrated learning hours for week 4, they're still open and available to you, so make sure that you get in there tonight, complete as many of those as you possibly can. That way this will reflect basically the total and final average for your professionalism. Okay? Any questions about that in particular? I'm going to look over here in our chat box. Okay, cool. All right. The other thing is we'll scroll down to week 4. All right. And in week 4, notice that we have our assignment and the brain teaser that you guys already completed. Okay, so that's no worries. Grades will be in there for you by this evening. Some of you and your teams already have that grade available. So go ahead and check that grade prior to coming into class as well. And then just a few other things here. So I want to make sure with you all, and this is just precautionary, okay? This isn't me telling you that you haven't done it or anything like that. This is just making sure that we get everything done that we need to get done. So the next thing that I want to make sure that you've completely done and can count it done and out of the way is the discussion adventure. So at this point in the week, you should have posted your initial post, which would answer step 1, questions 1 and 2. All right, and then you will want to make sure that you've also gone back in and engaged in discussion with at least 2 of the classmates. Remember that RISE model, just like the other weeks, is there for your guidance. So offering that feedback using that model, starting the conversation or continuing the conversation, asking them questions and things like that, is really going to be what helps you get those final 2 hours. All right, so make sure that whatever you do before tomorrow's class, you want to go in and complete that. Otherwise, after Sunday's actual deadline for those response posts, we'll go in And if you haven't completed the initial and the response post, then that'll count against 2 hours of your credit. Okay, so that might alter the attendance that you're seeing. It'll also alter your professionalism score if you don't complete it. So for the most accurate form of your grade, you want to make sure that you complete this along with the other things that we're going to discuss. All right, so far so good. Awesome, you guys rock. You're really on top of your material and on top of your assignments. So I know this is just a reminder for you all. Just want to make sure we cross all of our T's and dot our I's. So then we come up on, ironically, our GoTo training session activity on the portal. Now, remember that you're in here now, right? So you know that you're here, you're watching, you're doing what you need to do. So whenever we get out of this session today, for those of you that are in it live, you can go ahead, go into that activity and say, I've completed this, because you have. All right, for those of you that are watching the archive with me after a later point in time, once the video is over, the archive is done, you can then at that point click that you've completed this activity and you're good to go. All right, that's also worth 2 hours of attendance, just like it has been throughout all the other weeks. And if you are in the archive, then I assume that you have found it, but just in case, remember that you can access it through the GoTo training session activity as well. All right. Questions, comments, or concerns about that? I got a capital N-O. Absolutely not. No questions. Good stuff. Okay. So that brings me to one of the last ones, which is your team research activity. Now, you all have already all completed this no matter what team you're in. So what I need for you to do tonight, again, is just to make sure that you click that you've completed this activity. In order to complete the last assignment and to put in the hours required to discuss the outside research and to make everything happen this week, you have already met with your teams, you've put in those 2 hours, so all I need for you to do is go into 4.15 and click that you've completed this activity, since you have. All right, and then that brings me to our last activity, which is the portfolio competency activity. Now, I know that some of you have already done this. I don't want you to feel required to do this as of yet, but if you have everything done and you are ready to complete that last step of our class, then this is the very last thing that is worth GPS credit. All right, this is a big one that's due. Because it is worth 20% of your professionalism grade. So essentially, if we're assuming that it's out of 100 points, it's worth 20 points. That if you don't do it, can really impact your GPS score. So if you're ready to do so, then you can go ahead and go in. You'll notice that we give you our outcomes for the psychology of play class. And then basically what we're doing is asking you to reflect on your time here in class. So, you know, turning our focus a little bit more inward, studying, you know, what our thoughts were, our actions were, and looking at how we can improve ourselves. So using the RISE model that you've been using in all of your other discussion board activities this month, writing a short essay, and just basically telling us how well you feel like you've met the outcomes of the class. Now, mind you, again, they're in these 6 bullet points right up here, okay? And, you know, just walking us through a little bit about you know, what you feel you accomplished. What do you feel like you maybe expected from our course? Do you feel like the class met your expectations? And kind of talking us through what that means for you. What you feel like your biggest takeaway was. So what are you walking away from psychology of play with? You know, course concepts specifically, or maybe it was more of an experience. And then how well have you met the requirements of the class? So, you know, given the assignments, the time frames, attendance requirements, you know, what's something that you're especially proud of that you accomplished this month? And then, you know, maybe looking at it and thinking, what would you do differently if you could start the class over? Think about it kind of in terms of very similar to the way that we debriefed from our team assignments, right? But instead of looking at it as the cohort of your team and as a group, I want you to think about this individually. So for you as a student, what are some things that you're really, really proud of? Maybe something you overcame, maybe something you proved to yourself. And any classes that you have previously taken, for some of you, maybe you took creative presentations last month. For others, maybe you went to a completely different university prior to coming to Full Sail. Do you think that any of the skills that you brought from those previous courses apply now? And if so, what skills did you apply? Explain how what you learned in our class helped you, kind of move forward or in achieving your goals, and how can you continue to utilize that in the remaining classes here at Full Sail? All right, so you'll want to put that into a document and then upload it by dragging and dropping or selecting the file from your computer and then clicking submit. Okay. Any questions about that portfolio competency activity? See a bunch of no's. All right, very good. So the rest of our time here today basically will be spent kind of answering, excuse me, excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you. You guys are so kind, blessing me in the chat box. Keanu had a question. I have a question about let's see, let me scroll back up. You guys are typing so fast, it bumped it. Question about the week 3 dream space activity was graded, but still says late. So yes, Miss Ann will be putting in the grades for your week 3 assignment. Your assignment for week 3, once the grade goes in there by this evening, will replace that late. And the dream space is actually for your week 4. All right, so your week 4 assignment, and those grades are also being populated throughout this afternoon. And so once that grade is entered, based on what your team captain submitted on behalf of your team, that late will disappear and the grade will populate it. Did that help to answer your question? Okay, perfect. So you'll see both of those by this evening. Not to worry, as we've kind of talked through a little bit in class, as long as your team captain submitted it, which all 9 groups had submissions, then your grade will show up there sooner than later. Okay? All right, cool. So any last questions in regards to our class? Today's session will be a little bit shorter because lucky for you guys and because you rock, we got to cover all of our content. So today really is just a wrap up of everything to see if you need anything, to see what last minute questions you have, knowing that tomorrow we're going to see you. Nobody panic. Don't get sad too soon. All right. But prior to tomorrow coming, what expectations we have of you guys showing up, and any last minute details that we can cover prior to that. I'm so glad you guys loved it. We enjoyed having you. Don't give up on us just yet. You have one more day. All right, one more day. Sky, don't leave. Don't leave us. He's trying to say bye in the chat box for those of you that are joining us in the archive. Everybody's leaving early, but don't do that. Remember that tomorrow is still worth attendance, so make sure that you get there and that you get there on time and you stay with us the whole time. We have some exciting stuff planned for you for the last day. So this very last thing that I'll tell you guys, I'm going to stop the recording in just a minute, but I want those of the class that couldn't join us live that are in the archive to also have this message. Tomorrow, what I want you all to do is come to class with something that either motivates you or makes you laugh or makes you happy. All right, keep it appropriate, keep it legal, don't cross any boundaries, okay? But if you are able to, I'd like for you to bring that to class. That could be, a really fun sweater that you have. It could be your skateboard. It could be maybe, I don't know, a marker. It could be anything. If it's running, Valerie, maybe you could wear your favorite running shirt. or maybe you have like a headband or something that you like to wear while you're running. All right, it could be something that reflects that activity. Okay. Meanwhile, I can't tell you what we're going to do with all of it. That would be cheating. You have to wait and see. You have to come to class. All right. But it should reflect something that, like I said, makes you happy, makes you laugh. Try to keep it relatively small. Okay. Remember that we all have to fit in the classroom. So no live animals or, giraffes or anything like that. Don't steal anything. Don't do anything against the law. All right. Something that you have that's at home. Maybe it's a piece of like a pair of headphones or something along those lines. No, Sky, I wish you could bring your Labrador, but unfortunately, I can't let you do that. So maybe a picture of your Labrador. That would be a good consolation. All right. It could be a blanket. Yeah. Maybe a blanket. Maybe a necklace. Something simple. All right, guys. No pets. Nothing live. Nothing illegal. Maybe it was a movie that you really like that you have on DVD or something like that. I don't know, a picture of an activity you really love to do. It does not have to be related to your week 1 assignment. It doesn't have to be related to anything you've told us already through your assignments. It's just for fun. It could be a picture of your children, sure. It could be a picture of your family, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, maybe your siblings. Maybe it's just your cell phone. All right. Think of something creative. All right. So any questions about what I want you guys to bring to class with you? No? Okay, good. All right, so we're not going to leave yet, but I'm going to stop recording. All right, and then we're going to take any last questions that we have for the remainder of our session. So hang tight. For those of you that are here with me live, don't go anywhere. All right, and for those of you that are joining us in the archive, thank you for watching, and don't forget we have class tomorrow on Friday as our last day.